Welcome to Dollar Says. All right, let's talk about something that messes with all of our heads. You're at the airport, you look at that big currency board and what? How is it that one single US dollar can get you less than a euro, but then turn you into a literal millionaire in Vietnamese dong? It feels like it makes no sense, right? Well, today we're going to unravel this whole currency conundrum and figure out why all money is not created equal.
So to make this super clear, let's just invent a traveler. We'll call him Bob. He's got a fresh $1 bill in his hand, and he's about to head out on a big trip around the world.
Okay, so his first stop is Germany. He walks up to the exchange counter, and his dollar only gets him about 93 euro cents. Kind of disappointing, right? He's already got less than what he started with.
But hold on. His next stop is Vietnam. He takes that exact same $1 bill to the counter, and bam! Suddenly he's holding over 25,000 Vietnamese dong. For a second there, Bob's a millionaire.
So what is going on here? How can the same dollar have such wildly different values from one country to the next? And why are these numbers you see on the screen changing like every single second of every day? That is the big puzzle we are going to solve together right now.
To really get how our modern system works, or sometimes doesn't work, we need to jump in a time machine for a quick history lesson. We have to see what money used to be based on. See, for a really long time, the world ran on what was called the gold standard. A dollar wasn't just a piece of paper, it was basically a claim check for a real physical piece of gold sitting in a vault somewhere. But around the 1970s, that all changed. Economies were growing too fast and they needed more flexibility. So the world shifted to what we use today, something called fiat money, and it's backed by something way less tangible than gold.
And this comparison really tells the whole story. The gold standard? Super stable, because it was tied to a physical thing. But fiat money? Totally different ballgame. Its value comes purely from the faith and trust we have in the government that prints it. Now, that gives countries a ton of flexibility, but it also means the value is never locked in. It's always moving.
And when you boil it all down, the value of every modern currency on the planet comes down to this one super simple economic principle: supply and demand. That's it. If a ton of people want to buy a currency, its price goes up. If nobody wants it, its price goes down. This is the absolute fundamental rule of the entire game.
Okay, so if it's all about supply and demand, what are the giant, powerful forces that are actually controlling that? Let's pop the hood and look at the economic engine that drives all of this, starting with probably the biggest factor of them all. Interest rates. These are set by a country's central bank, and you can think of them like a giant magnet for global money. A country that sets high interest rates is basically offering a better payday for anyone holding its currency. I mean, think about it from your perspective. If you could earn 5% interest on your savings in country A versus a tiny 1% in country B, where are you going to put your cash? It's a no-brainer, right? Well, huge global investors are asking that exact same question every single day with billions of dollars. And that right there creates this powerful effect. As all those investors rush to buy up country A's currency to get that sweet 5% return, the demand for it just skyrockets. And what happens when demand goes up? Its value gets stronger. Simple as that.
Now, the next major force is inflation. You can think of it as the silent killer of your money's value. It's just the rate at which your cash loses its purchasing power. How much stuff you can actually buy with it. High inflation is a killer. It means your dollar buys less tomorrow than it does today.
And if you want a really dramatic, almost unbelievable real-world example, you just have to look at Zimbabwe. Believe it or not, back in the 1980s, their dollar was actually worth more than a US dollar. But then, insane hyperinflation took over and completely vaporized its value, to the point where the government eventually just gave up and abandoned its own currency entirely.
And finally, you have the country's overall health. Investors are constantly looking at nations like they're handing out a report card. Is the economy growing strong? Is unemployment low? Is the government stable and not drowning in debt? A country with straight A's is going to attract a lot of investment, and that in turn boosts its currency.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not all just about cold, hard economic numbers. A huge part of a currency's value is driven by something way less predictable: human emotion. The global market really only has two basic moods. When times are good, it's risk on. Investors feel optimistic, and they pour money into riskier currencies, hoping for a big payoff. But when things get scary, the mood flips to risk off.
Everyone gets fearful, and they pull their money out and run for cover in so-called safe haven currencies like the US dollar or the Swiss franc. We saw this play out in a massive way during the European debt crisis. So many panicked investors flooded into the Swiss franc that its value went through the roof. It actually got so strong that it started to hurt Switzerland's own economy because their products became super expensive for everyone else. It's a wild example of how being too safe can actually cause its own problems.
Okay, so this is all fascinating on a global scale, but let's bring it back home. How do these massive invisible currency wars actually end up affecting you, me, and the money in our bank accounts? Well, let's go back to our traveler Bob. Let's imagine a year has passed, and in that time, the US dollar has gotten quite a bit stronger against other currencies. Just look at this. Last year, that 200-euro hotel room in Paris would have cost him $220 US. But this year, because the dollar is stronger, that same exact room, same view, same everything, now only costs them $210. So a stronger home currency makes your vacation cheaper. Pretty cool, right? And it's not just travel. This affects so much of our daily lives. A stronger dollar makes the imported stuff we buy, like our phones, our TVs, our clothes, cheaper. It also impacts the value of any international stocks you might own, and it even affects jobs here at home for companies that sell their products overseas.
So, as you can see, a currency's value is so much more than just a number on a screen. It's really this incredibly complex, constantly moving dance between hard economics, global politics, and, of course, the wild and unpredictable moods of human psychology.
Which leaves us with this one last really big question to chew on. For decades, the US dollar has been the undisputed king of all currencies. But now, with the rise of digital money and the constant shifting of global power, is that dominance really guaranteed forever? I would love to know what you think. Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed breaking all this down with us, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers just like this one. Thanks for watching.